Today I wanted to talk about moods or or states. Um, Very often you might say, I'm in a bad mood or I'm in a good mood. And what I find really interesting about it, it's funny, people will comment more on bad moods than good moods. It's you don't hear people say too often, like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in a good mood today." But you will hear people talk about bad moods. And the interesting thing about a mood or a state is that it really becomes a set of filters for our experience in that moment. That if I'm in a bad mood, it's hard for me to see something positive, just because it's almost, they have that expression, rose-colored glasses. And when you're in a bad mood, you have the opposite. You can't see certain things because it's your experience is filtered. And I think for me, that's one of the big takeaways, is that our state, like our beliefs, is a filter on our experience, at least for that moment. And at times, if I'm in a bad mood, I may still I may still know that, hey, this is a mood, and in time I'll be able to see other things. But in this moment, I can't see possibility. I can't see my way out of the situation. Um, so I think that's the first thing to notice, is just noticing, okay, what's my mood or what's my state? What's that giving me access to? And then for me, it's really interesting to look at one state through the filter of another one. So when I'm in a bad mood, I might still remember being in a good mood, but I'm skeptical of it. I'm like, well, that's not reality, because clearly I can see that reality isn't good, or there's nothing to look forward to. And when I'm in a good mood, a bad mood doesn't make sense in the same way. Um, and it can really be helpful to pick, to get into a very different state and then observe your various moods from that. And one of the things that I like about some of the meditative practices that I talk about is, even if you're returning to sort of a neutral mood, it's actually a wonderful place to observe the movements, the fluctuations of our states from that place of calm. Or from that place of something closer to neutrality, if we can get there. And so for me, a lot of meditation is stripping layers of moods, or stripping layers of these filters, and really just having a moment of connecting to, as close as we can get to what is, connecting to our body, connecting to our breathing, and stepping into an observer place of our moods, of our beliefs, of our attitudes. And so one thing that I would encourage you to try is, as you're going through your day and you're noticing fluctuating moods, it's kind of like you stepped onto a particular elevation on a hike. And from this place, you can see certain things. Maybe you can see the peak and you realize, okay, I'm not there. And maybe you can see down into a valley, and from the valley, you couldn't see some of the other places. And wherever you are, there's things that you see in the valley. There might be a level of detail that you see that you don't see when you're on a peak. The other thing that's interesting about a mood or a state is, it's something that at times we move into gradually. It's like, you may not realize, you're going through your day, and you may not realize, like, oh wow, here I am, I'm in a bad mood. Or you might realize, like, oh my God, I'm in a really good mood. And you may not remember what were the things that led up to that. What were the steps, the things that happened in my day that brought me to either a place that maybe I'm not enjoying, or to a place where I feel great and I feel on top of the world. And at times, we take inventories, right, of, what's my state, how am I feeling, what am I thinking, and we're taking a snapshot in the moment of that particular state. I find it also useful to sort of trace the steps back and say, okay, well, what was the first thing, like what was the path that I took to get into this mood or this state, regardless of what that mood or state is. What maybe in the morning I ran into somebody and that gave me some ideas, and then I talked to somebody else and they cheered me up, and then gradually I get into a really good mood. Or maybe the opposite happened. I got up on the wrong side of the bed, and I didn't like my coffee, and blah blah blah, and before I know it, I find myself in a bad mood. And then always it's good to remember that we can at times shake these things off, or kind of again return to your senses, return to your body, and for a moment step out of that mood so that we get to experience some choice again. So as always, I recommend you sort of play with these ideas and play with these things with some amusement, so that they're available to you when you find yourself in a mood where you didn't try to get there. All of a sudden you find yourself there. Maybe these are some things you can remember. Oh, I remembered when I got into a good mood, this is how I got there. All right, hope you enjoyed that.